Who taught you to hate the color of your skin? Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? So much so that you don't want to be around each other. No, before you come asking Mr. Muhammad, does he teach hate, you should ask yourself, who taught you to hate being what God gave you?
Most of us blacks, or Negroes as he called us, really thought we were free without being aware that in our subconscious, all those chains we thought had been struck off were still there. And there were many ways where what really motivated us was our desire to be loved by the white man. Malcolm meant to lance that sense of inferiority. He knew it would be painful. He knew that people could kill you because of it, but he dared to take that risk.
He was saying something over and above that of any other leader of that day, while the other leaders were begging for entry into the house of their oppressor. He was telling you to build your own house.
Words of wisdom from the past. Welcome to the Gilchrist Experience. As we must pay attention to May 19th, which was Malcolm X's birthday. Now this piece here was, that's 1964, 63, something, we're early 60s. And Malcolm has made a profound difference in all of us, and you can see there that what he spoke then is still exists now today. And we pay homage to the lessons we've learned from Malcolm's life. And let's hear a few comments from Graham Weatherspoon and Ye Lingi Professor. Gimme. Go ahead, Graham.
A
few words about
It's interesting how the prophet is despised in his own land, as Jesus said. And there's even talk about making Malcolm X's birthday a holiday now. It was something that was unheard of when it was suggested that Martin Luther King's birthday become a holiday. But times have changed, and people's outlooks upon people have changed. So 40 years passed, 35 years after his death, people just beginning to see and understand what he was talking about. Even Minister Farrakhan admitted that he didn't understand Malcolm when Malcolm was alive. So as we get older, theoretically, we get wiser, or should get wiser. And what Malcolm said there, the very poignant questions. Who taught you to hate? Who taught you to hate your nose, your hair, the texture of your hair, and that you need to build your own house and not worry about running into somebody else's house? Those are very basic and sensible principles that still need to be bellowed today. You must own what you have, not necessarily renting it, but you need to own. As FDR said, land is the only thing God is not making any more of.
That's right.
So we need to seek out ownership and title. I tell kids, you talk about turf, you don't have turf unless you have a deed to property.
That's it. That's it. Well, welcome to the show again, Professor Gimme.
Yes.
And how did Malcolm influence you?
Well, I was in the Congo then, in the 60s. But when he was assassinated,
65.
As Brother Graham says, nobody's a prophet in his own land. But in Africa, Malcolm X had a great impact. Both Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. Now, to the Africans,
they didn't really see the differences that was being portrayed here. We viewed both Malcolm and Martin Luther King Jr. as two great leaders who were fighting to free their people in the United States. So we didn't really, only when I came here that I saw that there were differences. In fact, these differences were kind of accentuated so they could divide them and or get rid of them. But in Africa, we didn't hear it that way. To us, actually, every African American who came up, whether it was in the arts or in the sports, in music, in politics, Africans, you know, black Africans or Africans south of Sahara, they loved it. So we saw them as two black leaders, you know, fighting to free their own people, especially with Muhammad Ali's, you know, protesting about going to war. And that resonated so much in Africa to the point where when Muhammad Ali came to fight George Foreman in 1974, we saw Muhammad Ali as our hero. And George Foreman was portrayed as the villain. and Muhammad Ali actually used that to say, Bomaye, Ali, Bomaye. So we were welcoming Ali because he was standing for, you know, black people. So, and he portrayed George Foreman as the enemy. So, so that's how it was viewed in Africa. But yes, it's what Malcolm X stood for and what Martin Luther King stood for. It was the same thing to Africans, that they were fighting for justice, they were fighting for equality, they were fighting for freedom, in other words. So that's how Malcolm X was viewed in Africa, especially in black Africa. So,
you know, the way that they portrayed and tried to pit Malcolm against Martin, and that eventful meeting that the two of them had, and they only had one meeting. And was Ozzie Davis, was that Ozzie? Who was the person in the room with the two of them?
Together?
I think it was Ozzie Davis.
It might have been Ozzie. I'm trying to remember because I talked with whoever it was, and just being present to hear the conversation. The two men were not miles and miles apart. And even with Ali and Frazier, when Ali was stripped of his title, George Frazier financed Ali.
Is that right?
Every fight that Joe Frazier fought, part of that purse went to Muhammad Ali.
Oh, okay.
You see? So there are things that revolutionaries do that are very quiet. There's no grandstanding, but the support is there. When Paul Robeson left the United States and was called a communist, it was Ozzie Davis and Ruby Dee that gave him support while he was in exile. You know, there are a lot of things that leaders do that the general public doesn't have knowledge of, and they may think, well, these two guys are enemies, but no, Ali and not Ali, but
Malcolm X,
and Martin and their children are close today.
Right.
You know.
All right. Before we get to the Congo, I like to update ourselves. And I know this might be out of sequence, but I'd like to run something on the Nigerian situation, hear your comments on that. So, Control Room, I know this is out of sequence, but go to the Nigerian one, and we'll come right back, because I want to hear what you have to say about before we get to the Congo.
Desperate search for those missing schoolgirls. The government is now talking with the terror group in Nigeria, and American manned missions are underway, trying to locate the girls. ABC's Hamish McDonald is there in Nigeria with us for the latest. Good morning, Hamish.
Robin, right now ABC News can confirm that Nigeria's government is talking to the senior leadership of Boko Haram. Importantly, though, it does not mean it's negotiating with them for a prisoner exchange. This morning, the US is sharing vital intelligence with Nigeria, handing over satellite imagery, running manned surveillance flights to help find those kidnapped girls. This video may prove they're alive, claiming to show at least 100 of the missing, dressed in full-length veils and chanting verses from the Quran. The leader of Boko Haram says they've been converted to Islam. He wants to exchange the girls for prisoners. Nigeria's government is talking to the group's leadership, but not negotiating. Intelligence analysts are now scouring the video for clues.
You can see large spaces between the trees, which means had a drone been flying overhead, when this happened, they would have seen it.
These are new images from above of the burnt-out school, remnants of the dorm where they were sleeping. In the ashes, all that's left is their schoolwork. It's clear that the United States and the UK are intensifying their efforts to help find these missing girls. But as they say, the trail is now 4 weeks old. So Robin and George, they are not holding out a lot of hope.
So you see, that's updating us all on what's happening in Africa, well, Nigeria in particular. What's your take on it, Professor?
It's a sad story about Nigeria and Africa as a whole. It's very sad. I read a piece by a Nigerian who really got down on his own country, right, and his own leadership and his own people, because at independence, Nigeria was the hope of black Africa. Okay. Nigeria was the hope of black Africa at independence. After the Civil War between the two main tribes, the Igbo and the Yorubas, then Nigeria united, and again.
What year are we talking?
I was in late
60s?
Late 60s, yeah, late 60s.
Late 60s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, but what is happening today can only make people want to cry.
Really?
Yes.
It's sick.
Because African people fought for independence, right? Nigeria is an independent country. That means that the government is supposed to protect the people of Nigeria, regardless of what religion they are. Right. But yet, in northern Nigeria, Christians have been killing Muslims, and Muslims have been killing Christians. Now, all these are Nigerians, black people. Okay. So the question is, what kind of mentality do we Africans have for us to believe that because I believe in Allah, therefore I can kill the one who believes in Jesus Christ, or because I believe in Jesus Christ, I can kill the one who believes in Allah? And first of all, if both of you worship God, how many gods there are going to be on this universe? How many earths do we have? How many gods can create one earth?
Good question.
Huh? So that you, in a Muslim, you're going to say, I'm going to kill this one because he or she is a Christian, and this Christian, and this is Nigeria, right? And this is Nigeria. There's a government. The Nigerian country as a country is making billions of dollars in oil money. Yeah. That means they could have the tip top of everything, including fighting gears, including surveillance gear, including everything.
Well, what's holding it back?
Huh?
What's holding it back?
Well, let me give you an example.
Corruption.
BBC sent a crew to the main airport of the northern state where these girls have been kidnapped. The guy stood in the middle of the airport, and then the camera scanned the entire airport. The guy is saying, you see, this whole airport is empty. Actually, this place should be packed with soldiers, with army airplanes, so they could fight this insurgency, this terrorism by this extremist Islam militia or whatever. And everybody knows that Islam does not teach for you to kidnap little girls and slaughter people.
Not at all.
Neither does Christianity. And so the government there should stand for common sense. And the government is not. If it was for the international pressure, the president of Nigeria has been taking all this going on in northern Nigeria lightly, where we will talk to them and we will see, oh, it's not that serious. What is not that serious?
Really?
Huh?
When you have a leadership that is so corrupt, and all governments are corrupt.
That's what it is, a corrupt government.
They've been making money. A small group have been making money off of the oil in the southern region, down in the Delta, the Bonnie Light and all that. And then the people in that region see none of the proceeds of the minerals coming out of the ground. Mm-hmm. When you allow foreigners to come into your country and kill your people so that the foreigners can make money and give you a little money under the table. I remember in Iraq, we had a guy called Saddam Hussein. They said he was a dictator. Mm-hmm. But one thing under Saddam Hussein in Iraq, you had Sunni, Shia, and you had Christians, right? We didn't need George Bush and the U.S. Army to take Christianity to Iraq when Christianity comes from that region of the world. So the Church of the Chaldees, which is mentioned in Scripture, the Church of the Chaldees, first century church, is 40 miles north of Baghdad in Iraq, right? Saddam Hussein had Christians, Shia, and Sunni. Sunni and Shia were warring factions for a long time. Saddam said, you will not carry that nonsense on in my country. You step out of line, I'll step on you. So he said, go about your worship. Christians, go about your worship. Sunni, go about your worship. Shia, go about your worship. I'm not going to tolerate the idiocy like you see in Nigeria. Mm-hmm. Now, when Saddam was murdered by the United States, not directly, but indirectly, when Saddam was murdered, the Church of the Chaldees went into hiding. Their churches were destroyed. The Shia and the Sunni are fighting each other. There's total chaos in the country. We did the same thing in what we now call Iran. Okay? We did the same thing there in 1953 and undermined that government and toppled the government, which was more democratic, and not that this is a democracy, but more democratic than the U.S. We toppled that government and put the Shah of Iran in there, and the country went to the dogs. You cannot have a government that is so corrupt that it would allow, just as the U.S. allowed the Ku Klux Klan to run rampant in this country for so many years, you cannot allow that to go on.
Well, but in Nigeria, there's something different. I always come back to this. As Obama said in Ghana, we know what colonialism did to Africa, right? But today, Black Africa is independent. The president of Nigeria, I think, has a PhD.
Yeah, but where was he educated?
Wait, hold on, hold on, brother, hold on.
Go ahead.
Here, there's something called mental brainwashing, right? But at one point, when you sit in your own country, right, you now the president of Nigeria. Right. You know your village. You know your people. You know that your people are human beings like you are, right? So you can think to say, okay, I got to protect my people because white folks taught you to hate your people? Come on. We have to accept the responsibility.
Amen.
Black people. You understand?
Right.
We Africans have to accept the responsibility.
We can't blame the white man for this.
We can't blame the white man.
And that's the point I'm making.
No, but listen, but in Africa today, I'm not going to name or call on what the British did to Africa or what the American did to Africa. No. Nigeria is an independent country. And any human being who's alive should look at the lives of little girl, a little boy, a mother, to say, this is a human being like me. I cannot kill him or her. That is a basic fundamental understanding of even animals. Even animals. No dog will say, I'm going to kill my own child or my own cousin dog. Even animals in the forest, they know how to protect their own kind.
I agree.
So therefore, no African has an excuse to say that.
I'm not giving an excuse.
That because I studied in England or I got a PhD from America, now white folks told me to kill my own people. Come on.
But the point I'm getting to, I'm not arguing with you.
Yeah, no, brother. So that's what I'm saying. That's why I don't even want to finish.
You didn't even let me finish my point.
Okay.
The way a man thinks determines the way a man's going to act.
That's right.
And these men do not think like Africans.
Why not?
All right?
Why not?
They're not even African. They look African, but they're not Africans.
Okay. But
that's the tragedy of it all. Because
but my brother, brainwashing is not permanent. You know that.
Right.
Well, there is a point where you have to.
My brother, if brainwashing was permanent, we accept that. Brainwashing is not permanent. In other words, they can teach you to hate your people, as you saw Malcolm X said, right? When Malcolm X spoke to those people,
when the truth comes to you, yes, it
but many of them changed, right?
Right.
Because
Malcolm changed.
Yes, of course.
Malcolm changed.
So I agree with you that how you think is how you're going to react. But we have to agree that brainwashing is not permanent. That when you become a leader, you in your own country, the basic thing you can do is to protect your people. Right. And so therefore, if they're not doing it, I'm not going to blame it on their education.
Give us the answer. Why is he not protecting the people, this Nigerian president, who's got all kinds of education?
Yes.
Educated in the West.
Right.
To be brainwashed to hate his own people.
I don't know about that. I don't know.
Well, this is what Graham is saying.
No, both of you
just like the opening.
Both of you talked about corruption.
Right.
That's number one.
Yeah. Okay.
Number two, because I think he's a Muslim too. I'm not sure. But because
who's a Muslim?
The president of Nigeria. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But whether he is or not, you see, religion.
Well, that might be the case right there.
Religion sometimes can get you to say, oh, okay, these are religious people, and I'm not going to push hard because I'm going to offend God or whatever. I'm not sure. But there's something about religion, about irresponsibility, about corruption, about all these other things that can cause.
Something's wrong with any religion that teaches you to dog your woman.
Exactly.
I mean, you in the doghouse when you dog your woman. I mean, when you treat your woman like a slave, and when she's the producer of life.
Right. And look at the little girls.
I mean, come on.
By the way.
Can you imagine having a young lady and you sending her off to boarding school in any country, and some gangsters come out and kidnap her and say, we're going to sell her into slavery?
Right.
I mean, come on.
Right.
I mean, what? And you're the president of the country, and you're just
you don't do anything. Yeah.
Well, then
you're going to need the international pressure to pressure now you to say, I'm going to do something now.
And he might be a Muslim, and he goes along with the Muslim.
I don't know.
Is that the way Muslims feel about their women?
And now about those Boko Haram leaders, right? These extremists, they're calling them terrorists. You saw the guy speaking, right? He doesn't want these girls to go to school. He says because it's white education. Yet, he's holding a pad.
Teaching them.
That he's reading from. Right?
Right.
He's reading from a pad. Now, so the education these girls are getting from Europeans, but the pad that he's writing on, this education he's reading on, who taught him that? Where did that come from?
And he's educating them with the Quran.
Exactly.
Teaching is fundamental to every human being.
Now, you want to teach them the Quran, but you don't want them to learn.
You don't want them to learn math and science or anything else.
So how crazy is that?
What's the percentage of Christianity in Nigeria?
I'm not sure, but it could be either 40, 50, or 30, 50. I'm not sure.
But I heard it was 80%.
I'm not sure, but most of the northern Nigeria, I believe, is Islam, is Muslim. But there's also a feature of Christianity, and there's also a percentage of those who are neither Christian nor Muslims, who have their own different religions. But, but the case is that, as you saw, the tragedy is that as you get the example of Saddam Hussein, it shouldn't be that way. People should be free to worship whomsoever they should worship, and that's the thing that was with Saddam Hussein. By the way, that's the same thing happened in Libya too. Now the Christians have gone into hiding. Yeah. Right. The same thing is happening in Syria too. When they're trying to get Assad now, the area that the so-called rebels have taken, they've been killing Christians. So it's America to look at what are we trying to achieve here. Where is this situation better for the country? Not. Because sometimes when you go disrupt a system, you make it worse than it was before.
Well, I think under Obama, we won't have that disruption we had in the rest of these countries we've just mentioned. I believe he's patient enough to find out what the real deal is and won't stick his nose in where he doesn't think it belongs.
Well, well, that's one thing that really I support Obama for, that he is patient and wise enough to look at every situation and to say, do I need to go there and disrupt this, or go just show them that I'm more powerful than anything else?
Or make the mistakes that Bush made.
Exactly, that's right. That's because, the people, even in his own party, they've been trying to push him to intervene here and there and go over there. But he's been very patient, and that patience and that wisdom is paying off. Because America is the better off that the children who are soldiers are not being killed in some foreign place for no reason at all, except that we want to show that we are the mightiest one. So I appreciate that with President Obama.
All right, so let's go into your favorite, your homeland, the Congo. You seldom hear anything about the Congo except here on this show. And I mean, I don't anyway.
You're right.
I mean, you're from the Congo. I mean, how often do you hear people talking about what's happening in the Congo?
Nope.
And or in Africa in general. Well, let's just remind the people about what's happening in the Congo. We'll run this little roll in and come right back to you, and we're talking about the progress perhaps this show has brought to the Congo. How things have changed since last we spoke about it. All right? We'll be right back at you.
And it doesn't have to be that way. You do not have to slaughter millions of people to get access to the cobalt for your colored television, or access to the cobalt for your aerospace industry, or access to the copper for your automobile industry.
All right, you dealing with the economy, you want the coltan. Man, Congolese people don't eat coltan. Congolese people can't eat gold. Talk to the Congolese people, we're gonna let you get the resources, but for God's sake, stop killing the people, stop letting Rwanda, Uganda, and Joseph Kabila kill with impunity.
The situation in the Congo is not just a Congolese issue, it's not just an African issue, but it's a global issue. It's a worldwide issue. Congo is a part of the second largest rainforest in the world. It's vital to the fight against climate change. If you're concerned about climate change, you should be concerned about Congo. Half of those who have died as a result of the conflict are children under the age of 5. So if you're a child advocate, if you're concerned about children, you ought to be concerned about what's happening in the Congo. If you're concerned about women, if you have a mother, a sister, you ought to be concerned about what's happening in the Congo. If you drive an automobile, or flying airplanes, or own a cell phone, as a human being, at the very least, you ought to be concerned. You ought to say something. You ought to want to find out why this is happening. You ought to be moved to want to bring an end to it.
Bambala biso, bengan zambe, doko bika, lengan zambe, Nzambe, apambola biso, benga Nzambe, doko bika, benga Nzambe.
8 out of 10 people in Congo are unemployed and live on 30 cents or less per day.
À Kinshasa, 9 filles des rues sur 10 vivent de la prostitution.
For Congolese children, the tragedy is endless. Massacred in their villages by machetes or recruited as hundreds of thousands of victims, and many have become murderers.
We've run that piece several times, but it's heartwarming every time we watch it. Yeah. You know, to think that this has been going on for so long. Mm-hmm. We started the coalition back in 2001, was it?
Yeah.
13 years ago with Reverend Grant.
Reverend Clarence P. Grant, who we just commemorated this past Sunday.
Yeah.
You know, we commemorated his passing.
And we've been dealing with this 13 years.
Yes, since 2001. Since 2001, and it's still going on.
And you've been dealing with it forever.
Yes, yes, even before then.
So this is another black when Africans.
Yeah. It's
same
another
as
Africans where you have.
You can't blame it on anybody but Africans.
Yeah.
Just as a Nigerian case?
Just in the Nigerian case. But here you have a guy who is power hungry and who uses weapons, makes agreements with outside forces from the United States.
To kill his own people.
Doing a Bill Clinton to provide him weapons.
Okay.
So he is ambitious enough, I want to take power over in my own country of Rwanda. And this is Paul Kagame.
Okay.
And then we have an agenda with the mining companies, with international companies.
Right.
We want to take over power in the Congo so we can control the resources of the Congo.
Okay.
Right? But he's an African, Paul Kagame.
Mm-hmm.
He gets together with Museveni, president of Uganda. They have an objective.
Yeah.
Museveni wants to control the gold in northeastern Congo.
Okay.
Paul Kagame wants to control the diamonds, the copper, tin, coltan that is used for cell phones in central and southeastern Congo. So they have an agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Then the forces outside, of course, don't care about the lives in Africa.
Not at all.
Again, we can expect...
They just want the goodies. That's right.
Yeah, they want the minerals, right?
Right.
And so, Bill Clinton at the time, hey, what does Bill Clinton care about the lives of black Africans?
But he couldn't do anything about it, could he?
No, well, he knew.
He could have.
He could have, because he knew that funding and giving weapons to Paul Kagame is going to result into death.
Did they know the difference? I mean, it's like everybody's got a gang, and each gang is controlling the goodies.
Yeah, but for Bill Clinton to not know that people are going to die, if I'm giving you weapons,
but they got
what are you going to use them for?
But they got the excuse of Rwanda.
Huh? No. This was before the genocide.
Rwanda?
That's right.
Okay.
Because remember, Paul Kagame is coming from Uganda. Paul Kagame grew up in Uganda.
Okay.
Lived in Uganda. Paul Kagame helped Museveni gain power in Uganda. So the deal was, if you, Museveni, you become president, you're going to help me also gain power in Rwanda. Because Paul Kagame is from the minority Tutsi, like 23%. They cannot gain power through elections. Okay. Because the Hutu are about the majority. So they knew they were going to take power by fighting.
Force.
Okay. By force.
Right.
So the U.S. helped them prepare from Uganda. From 1990, they started. Then in 1994, when the international community, the UN, is forcing them to have peace, make peace, they went to Arusha in Nigeria.
Yes.
They signed a peace accord that we're going to share power. But Paul Kagame didn't want to share power.
Not at all.
With who?
With Abiyarimana, who was the president, the elected president, who was a Hutu.
Of what
of
country?
Rwanda. Of Rwanda,
okay.
Yes. So Paul Kagame is coming from Uganda.
Now we're talking about Uganda and
Rwanda. They're next to each other.
All right. Now we haven't mentioned the Congo.
Not yet. This is 94. But the plan
we haven't even talked about Congo.
Yeah, but the plan that Paul Kagame that he had was that taking power in his country in Rwanda was like a stepping stone to move into the Congo, because that's where the resources are.
All right.
To make money.
Rwanda, Uganda have no resources.
Uganda has some. Rwanda doesn't. Rwanda, the only thing that Rwanda does is farming and raising cattle.
Okay. So but Uganda does have resources.
Some resources, but not much.
Nothing like the Congo. Now, the difference in the size of the countries, people have to understand.
Not on the size of the country, the Congo is about
100 times bigger?
50 times. If you combine Rwanda and Uganda together, they will go inside the Congo 50 times.
50 times.
And Rwanda will go inside the Congo 100 times.
Okay. All right. So now the Congo is the size of half of the United States.
Yes. The United States east of the Mississippi. The whole United States east of the Mississippi.
And this is full of $24 trillion worth of goodies.
The resources.
Resources. I call them goodies.
In other words, there's no country on earth that is
richer than this country.
Richer than that country in terms of resources.
24 trillion.
Right. So, so the plan for Kagame was to move from Rwanda into Uganda. So Bill Clinton provided weapons. Now,
why did Bill Clinton provide weapons?
Because Bill Clinton wanted, there was a fight now for control of the resources of Central Africa between France, who was a friend of Mobutu.
And Mobutu is Congo.
In the Congo, right? The dictator who had been there for 34 years.
Okay.
And the United States wanted to have access to these rare resources, such as coltan, tantalite that is being used
and
now.
Uranium for making atom bombs.
Uranium,
right.
Uranium, and many other rare minerals that you and I don't know that the Pentagon is using in making these sophisticated weaponry that are coming out of the Congo. Right. So, therefore, Bill Clinton funded Museveni of Uganda and Paul Kagame of Rwanda, that they were coming in to take over Rwanda and then go inside the United States. Now, I don't know whether Bill Clinton knew or not, but Paul Kagame wanted to take over the entire Congo. So they moved to remove Mobutu, because Bill Clinton had told Mobutu already that you got to go. And then, Rwanda, in the process, not only inside the Congo, but even in Rwanda, he was killing his own people. In 1994, when the genocide started, Paul Kagame shut down the plane that was bringing...
the French plane.
Yeah. So he killed the president of Rwanda, who was a Hutu, in the hope that then the Hutu will start killing the Tutsis, so he can use that as an excuse to go inside Rwanda to, quote-unquote, stop the genocide. Right. But when the Hutus became disorganized because the leader of the president was killed, Paul Kagame himself started killing. He started killing Hutus, and then he started killing even the Tutsis who have remained in Rwanda. He said because they did not go into exile, therefore considered them all like Hutus, killed them.
Kill them. You had the same scenario in Nazi Germany when the Gestapo told the Jews, go to France. And Herzl blocked that. And they said, if they don't go to France, we're going to kill them. Herzl said, I don't care. Kill them. Because they're part of the problem that Herzl had with the Orthodox Jews in Germany at that time. So they were slaughtered. For the last 10 years, and we look at minerals, I've seen paperwork on rare earth minerals. And you've mentioned rare earth minerals, and people don't even know about them. And they are rare earth minerals, not gold, silver, copper, platinum, uranium. These are minerals which are so crucial to national defense.
In the United States.
There was a large quantity of rare earth minerals in South Africa. And the South Africans did not want the Chinese to get access to it. And they were looking for American businessmen to put up money to buy up the mine where these minerals were. The Chinese, while the U.S. was playing war games in Iraq, Afghanistan, and all that nonsense, the Chinese were buying up gold on the world market. Because what is happening now, the IMF and the World Bank have looked at the situation that we had in this country with the financial collapse. And they said the Americans are not trustworthy. Everything they have is just fluff. There was no substance to it. You saw the mortgages and all the things, all the banks, AIG, and all the corruption within the financial structure of the U.S. Many Japanese pulled out of Wall Street and went to other markets around the world to invest their money. So we have lost greatly because of the shenanigans of these bankers who should have been jailed and were not jailed, all right, during the Bush administration and right into the Obama administration. And what is critical about this is that the United States dollar has, since World War II, been the reserve currency for all international trade. You need the dollar to buy oil, to buy gold, to buy everything. You need it to buy wheat, soy, whatever you're buying. The World Bank and the IMF has now said, because of the shenanigans on Wall Street, we are going to remove the US dollar from being the reserve currency of the world. And Saddam had called for this before he was murdered because Bill Clinton said he would not lift the sanctions that he had placed on Iraq after we dropped depleted uranium on them in 1991. Clinton would not lift the sanctions. Saddam called for the Arab nations to go to the euro for international trade, to weaken. He said, I can't kick you behind, but I will get you. To weaken the US dollar. The euro was worth $1.30. You understand? So the US dollar has been crashing over the last few years. And where we are now, the World Bank has said the US dollar has nothing backing it. They're just putting out paper money, but they don't have the gold to back it. And they're going back. Nixon took us off the gold standard. The world is going back to the gold standard. And as a result, I think every bank is going to be required to have at least 25% of their assets in hard, cold gold. So not real estate, not these stupid bonds and securities, because they're all fluff. There's no substance to them. The Chinese knew this was coming. And for the last 10 years, China has been buying gold off the world markets. The Congo, the gold. Every economy in the world, every treasury, the U.S. Treasury is right now looking for gold to back up the dollar. And without it, the economy is going to suffer because, and I'll just end with this. We don't manufacture anything anymore. All those guys that wear those flags on their lapels, they move the business offshore because they don't want to pay taxes. All the patriots move their business offshore. And as a result, American workers don't even know how to operate modern day machinery because all the machinery is overseas. So now when you need something, you are the perpetual consumer. White, black, whatever you are in this country, you are now the consumer. And because we don't produce anything, and the dollar could depreciate in value very shortly, prices will rise because the dollar will be worth even less on the international market.
It's going to take a united front of black people realizing their worth. See, all the problems of the past, which you just illuminated on beautifully, but we're set in the circumstances now when we're just suddenly realizing that we're fighting ourselves. We're fighting our own brother. My brother here was blaming the white man for a lot of stuff over the years, but he's evolved since then, same as Malcolm evolved. And his last statement from England was, I'll work with anybody, I don't care what color you are. So we've got to see one thing about being black. You learn not to put everybody in a cubbyhole and feel that the people are human. And we are human. And we have to come to the realization who we are as a people. God has endowed us with this blessing of being black. And when we realize that fact, we all rise. And we're the saviors of the planet. We're the Christ. We're the Christ-like people. These are nothing but villains and demonic forces that are greedy and self-centered. And that's what this president is about. He's got independence, an independent country, got all these billions. He's not taking care of his own people. He's Nigerians. You go to the Congo and you got Kagame getting in a gang war, just like in Chicago. We're killing each other. Let's talk about killing each other. Never mind the rest of the planet. Just talk about black on black. So, and when we realize what we're doing wrong to ourselves, we'll all be free. All right.
That's why the pressure of the people who believe in what you're talking about, they have to put pressure for those in power to help us get rid of these crazy leaders, such as Paul Kagame, such as Museveni, such as Joseph Kabila. So that's why I am happy that John Kerry went to the Congo and told Joseph Kabila that that's it. You can't change the constitution anymore for you to run for president in 2016 when your 2 terms are up. But it takes that kind of sometimes outside leadership to stop these things, because John Kerry just became Secretary of State during the 2nd term of Obama. Right? But yet he's moving to try to stop these killings that have been going on, as you say, since what, 1996? In the Congo. As of today, over 8 million Congolese have perished. And I'll tell you this, what I found out 2 weeks ago. You know the Panzi Hospital in Bukavu? Because we have news coming from Bukavu. They took to the hospital in Bukavu, in the Panzi Hospital, a 2-month-old little girl that has been raped.
What?
Not 2 years old, 2-month-old little girl that has been raped by these Rwandan soldiers who are coming from that Kagame sent there to try to take over that part and control the resources of the Congo. 2 months old.
Well, these are kids anyway, aren't they? They're usually 12, 14-year-old kids.
No, these are men. Soldiers, men.
These grown men.
Yeah, grown men.
Okay.
And guess the French doctor who was operating of the child could not operate because tears filled his glasses when he's looking at a 2-month-old that has been gang raped. This is what these Rwandans have been doing in the Congo. And by the way, when we talk about Rwandans, we're talking about Paul Kagame soldiers, because not all Rwandans agree with Paul Kagame. In fact, Paul Kagame has been killing his own Rwandans people, including those who worked with him who ran away. In January, he killed his chief.
We're talking about the president of the Congo.
The president of Rwanda, Paul Kagame.
Paul Kagame, okay.
Yeah.
Now, who's the
by the way,
I'm thinking Kabila.
Kabila only allows Paul Kagame to do these things in the Congo. Because if Kabila is not in the Congo, the Congolese can organize to go to the east. And
how do we get rid of Kabila?
Well, that's why we're talking about what John Kerry is doing now. It's one way, because for the actually Joseph Kabila was preparing to change the constitution so he can run again president in 2016, so he can stay there for the longer. But the longer he stays, the more people are being killed by Paul Kagame in the east, because Joseph Kabila is an agent of Paul Kagame. He used to be a soldier in his army. So therefore, Paul Kagame put him there so that he can control the government of the Congo, so that the Congolese don't go to the east and get rid of his people. So, and then in Eastern, Paul Kagame and Museveni are working together to control the resources of Eastern Congo.
Well,
so
outsiders don't really know the difference, do they? Do they really know the difference?
No, outsiders don't know, because there's no information. Like you said, the only television show here that does regularly shows on the Congo, what's happening in the Congo. But, I mean, crimes, unspeakable crimes are being still. 1,000 women are raped almost every day in the Congo, even today.
Come on, I hope you're exaggerating.
No, I'm telling you, these are official numbers.
Oh,
go on the internet, check with these non-governmental organizations such as Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, even the United Nations. This is happening. But this case I just told you of 2 months old, for the first time, we got news two and a half weeks ago.
Have you figured out why nobody's talking about the Congo?
Because of the minerals.
Money.
Money.
It's all about money.
The resources. And also, watch this. Paul Kagame, Museveni, and Kabila, they are spending millions of dollars on lobby and on buying the media.
Okay.
You follow me? One guy from BBC started asking questions. The guy died suddenly, a black guy who was reporting he would start asking. First he had an interview with Bill Clinton, he had an interview with Paul Kagame. The guy just died. They kill. I mean, these people they're spending millions of dollars to make sure that the Congo situation stays the way it is, because they are making billions of dollars every day.
A lot
Paul
of people
Kagame,
around.
Museveni, and Joseph Kabila, they have become billionaires off of the Congo. So therefore, they don't care how many people are gang raped in Africa, in the Congo.
Bill Clinton said during the civil war in Rwanda, he was not sending American troops to die in Africa. Basically, black people, Africans, are not worth shedding American combat soldiers' blood for.
However, when it came to the money and go inside the Congo to get the resources, go back and check this movie, Crisis in the Congo. Bill
They're
Clinton,
training.
Yeah, Bill
He's
Clinton
training.
sent soldiers,
Special
American
forces.
special forces in Rwanda to train Rwandan soldiers for them to invade the Congo.
But he would not engage our troops to save the lives of the everyday people in Rwanda. And then they asked for the Army Corps of Engineers to bring in units so they could have palatable water.
No, but in Rwanda, brother, but in Rwanda, Kagame asked Bill Clinton not to send, in fact, Kagame asked Bill Clinton to remove the United Nations soldiers who were in Rwanda, who wanted to protect the people and stop the genocide from taking place. Bill Clinton ordered United Nations forces to get out of Rwanda. That way, now Paul Kagame can kill any way he wants to kill. You follow me? So it was
you might bring up the point of why the Congo is so disrespected. Because Mobutu had been in power for 30 years, and he was a dictator who killed his own people for the resources.
No. Mobutu didn't kill his own people for the resources. Mobutu protected his own people. Mobutu did not kill his own people.
Whoa.
No.
Okay.
Mobutu.
Anytime
so Mobutu was good for Congo? Come on.
Anytime a black leader tells Europeans that they can't have their way, there's a problem.
Why? Here, do you know why Mobutu had to go? We didn't need him anymore. America didn't need him anymore. The Cold War had ended.
Okay.
You follow me?
All right.
The Cold War had ended.
And
now we didn't need Mobutu anymore to fight the communists.
Well, why do we need him during the Cold War?
No, he needed to go now because at this time, the international struggle is no longer between East and West, between the communists and capitalism. Okay. Now, after the end of the Cold War, now the struggle is for resources. And the Congo has what we need.
Okay.
And therefore, Mobutu, because he was friend with France, we got to get rid of the French influence in the Congo. To get rid of the French influence, you have to remove Mobutu.
Okay.
You follow me?
Okay.
In fact, France, during the 1994 genocide in Rwanda,
Right.
France went to the United Nations, wanted to volunteer the French troops to keep Rwanda from going and killing more of the Rwandan people. Bill Clinton said no, because people had to die, because Rwanda had to go and move over to the Congo.
He would not send the Army Corps of Engineers in with equipment to sanitize the water so people could have palatable water, and Ebola broke out. That added more deaths to the scenario. There was a private company in California, a white guy in California. He saw this and he said the president will not do anything to help these people that are dying. He packed up his entire company, his staff, trucked his equipment into Rwanda to provide drinking water for the people. And he said President Clinton could have done this and he wouldn't do it. And he would not spend another day in this country knowing that people were dying because they couldn't get palatable water and Ebola breaks out. Now, when you look at the outbreak of Ebola and AIDS across central sub-Saharan Africa, that's where all the minerals are.
Right.
You kill off the people, you can go in and take anything you want. And Hakeem Al-Habute wrote about that in his book, Black Men, back in 1990. So you use pestilence, disease, famine, everything in addition to murder in order to kill off people so that you have unlimited access to the minerals in the ground. Because again, you got to remember, these people plan 7, 15, and 21 years down the road. Okay. They're not thinking about today, they're thinking down the road.
Well, exactly. Yeah. And Bill Clinton and Paul Kagame and Museveni, they had planned down the road, and people we didn't know. Yeah. Oh, by the way, Brother Winston, the show you're doing here, asking the people to call the congressmen and senators is beginning to pay off, because the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee in Congress, Edward Royce, wrote to Secretary of State John Kerry asking him to review the United States policy towards Paul Kagame. Because Kagame has killed so much.
You mean we're being effective here?
Yes, we're bearing fruits.
Well, the last show we had, the one on the billionaires, you know, I sort of circulated that one to whoever would listen.
Yes, we need to, because see, if the Congress gets involved, then the executive has to be involved. And after that letter, actually, John Kerry, you know, is talking about Joseph Kabila not being present anymore. But we have to continue that pressure, because Paul Kagame has to go. And Paul Kagame must go, because every time Paul Kagame is in power, people are dying in Eastern Congo. People are being raped. Little girls are being gang raped in Eastern Congo. Because the mastermind of everything that is happening in Central Africa is Paul Kagame.
Really?
Yes, he's the mastermind. Museveni is his associate. Joseph Kabila is his agent in the Congo. Okay. So, and by the way, we're trying to get in touch with the State Department. You know.
We got 3 minutes.
Yeah. We got 15 seconds.
Okay. So, so because John Kerry had to get rid of.
Stay tuned. We'll have more to talk about next week.
Okay. The God in me loves the God in you.
God in me loves the God in you. And we're out. And the God in me loves the God in you.
Right.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
The Gilchrist Experience.
We're off the air.
God bless.
Yes.
Living hand to mouth in one of the most mineral-rich countries in the world. The Congo produces more than $1 billion of gold alone each year.
And the cobalt and the tin and the copper and the tungsten, all of that we're benefiting from, but yet we're silent.
And the situation is getting worse and worse, you know, because the money is there, the resources are out there in Congo, and everybody wants a piece of Congo. Everybody wants a piece of Congo.
When people invade your country, they rape your women, they rape the kids, they morally control your mind.
So I kept asking our intelligence people, is there any truth to this? I mean, what's happening out there?
There's a global consensus that exists that says it's okay for nearly 6 million black people to die in the heart of Africa and for us to be silent.
There's something wrong. There's something wrong with us in terms of the way we think about Africa.